Hey guys, today I'll be talking about trading blocks. So what are trading blocks, right? I'll be using the European Union as a detailed example, and this is a topic in economic integration for IB economics. Okay, let's get started. So, what are trading blocks? Well, trading blocks are simply groups of countries that establish rules for trade between all participating countries. These rules are designed to limit trade barriers such as tariffs, subsidies, and quotas. So it's just countries coming together to eliminate any barriers that exist between them. Now we have types of trading blocks. So the first one I have here is a FTA, or Free Trade Area. A free trade area is a bloc in which countries agree to abolish trade restrictions between themselves but maintain their own restrictions with other countries. So we could use an example of Canada, United States, and Mexico. So first, let me sketch something out. So these countries might all be having a free trade area. That's a bad color to use, like this. But, we could say that the US imposes tariffs on Cuba, Mexico imposes quotas on Cuba, and Canada has a free trade agreement with Cuba. So it really depends, right? You could still tax another country. So what are the pros and cons for an FTA? Well, the pros are that the advantages include greater access to low-priced, high-quality goods, lower prices overall, greater efficiency and innovation in production, increased economic development and living standards, and overall economic growth. So that's really good. But the con is that it can cause jobs to migrate to a country where the cost of production is lower, harm the growth of nascent industries that are just beginning to develop, allow an economy to become dependent on too few products, endanger security if a country becomes dependent on the importation of a vital resource, and yada yada yada. So next I have PTA, which is not Parent-Teacher Association, but it's Preferential Trade Agreement. So this is an agreement between two or more countries to lower trade barriers between each other on partial products. So the result is that a member of the agreement has easier access to the markets of other members for the selected products than countries that are not members. So it can take several forms, including free trade areas, custom unions, common markets. So it's basically kind of like an umbrella term. You can think of it that way. So next I have the customs union. So a customs union is an agreement between countries in which all, that's very important to note, goods and services produced by members are traded tariff-free. Additionally, countries agree on common tariff rates on imports from all external third-party countries. So remember, a tariff is a tax on imports. So basically, this is the EU, which is an example of a customs union. So the European Union has eliminated all tariffs between themselves. So Austria with Belgium, Belgium with Estonia, Ireland with Italy, Latvia, whatnot. They eliminated all their trade barriers with each other, but imposed common trade barriers on third-party countries, such as the UK or China. But then it would be the same as mentioned in common trade tariff barriers. Okay, moving on. Now we have common markets. So similarly to a customs union, goods and services are traded tariff-free in common markets. Additionally, the four factors of production, capital, labor, entrepreneurship, and land, flow freely between member countries. So this ultimately plays a role in improving the allocation of resources between the common market members and lower the costs of production. Again, the EU is a customs union and a common market. So, for example, if a person that is a citizen of the EU lives in Italy and works there but wants to move to France, he can do so without much, documents and whatnot. Yeah, exactly here. Customs union means that the custom authorities of all EU countries work together as if they were one. They apply the same tariffs to goods imported into their territory from the rest of the world and apply no tariffs internally. This is a extract I took from the EU page. Okay, moving on to the monetary union. A monetary union takes economic integration a step further. So we talked about economic integration with the previous ones. This is taking a step further. So members enjoy all of the benefits of a customs union and common market, but then also establish a common central bank, which issues a common currency and controls the monetary policy of member countries. So an example of this, again, is the EU, but specifically the Eurozone, which is the unofficial name for the 20 EU countries that are members of the European Economic and Monetary Union and have adopted the euro as their common currency. So there's like 27 EU countries, right? But only 20 use the euro. So, for example, Denmark is an EU country, but they still use the kroner instead of the euro. But places like Italy, Germany, and France, they use the euro. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of a monetary union? So the advantage is, of course, price stability. The common currency eliminates exchange rate fluctuations, reducing transaction costs and increasing price stability within the union. Second advantage is the increased trade and market access. A single currency makes it easier for businesses to engage in cross-border trade with the union, leading to increased trade and economic growth. And lastly, enhanced monetary policy credibility. Having a credible and independent central bank that follows a transparent monetary policy promotes investor confidence in all countries within the union, even the weaker ones. And of course, there's always disadvantages to something that has an advantage. So the first one is limited monetary policy flexibility. So member countries relinquish control over their monetary policy decisions to a supranational authority, such as the European Central Bank in the case of the Eurozone. So this means that the countries in the EU are not able to change their interest rates. And they're not allowed to change much with their monetary policy. Instead, they have the central bank to do it for them. And the second one I have is the loss of exchange rate control. Again, if you've learned the exchange rate unit, this is really helpful because you can see they can't devalue or value their currency, right? They can't sell their currency that much. They can't, whatnot, stuff like that. And they have some fiscal constraints in policy coordination. Countries must adhere to strict budgetary rules, deficit and debt limits, and coordinated fiscal policies. So this constraint limits a country's fiscal policy autonomy and can create challenges during economic downturns. This was especially prevalent in Greece, so you should search up Greece EU recession. So more specifically about the European Union. So what is the EU? As I've said before, the EU is a prominent example of an MGO, so this is a multi-governmental organization with the capacity to promote free trade among its members. So it was established after World War II. The EU has evolved into a unique and influential entity transcending traditional national sovereignty and diplomacy notions. So effectively, the functioning of the EU effectively fosters free trade among its members, transforming the continent into one of the world's most significant economic powerhouses. Again, let's go over the aims of the European Union again. Promote peace, its values, and the well-being of its citizens, offer freedom, security, and justice without internal borders, while also taking appropriate measures at its external borders to regulate asylum and immigration and prevent and combat crime. So here's the advantages and disadvantages of an EU membership. You can read right here. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And here's more notes you can read about how the European Union impacts the flow of goods, flow of capital, and flow of labor. Okay, I think that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching.